Hello, everyone. This is Narmati from Team 5, and our topic is COVID-19 trend analysis. The team members of our project are Rishabh, Shriram, and me. As we know that coronavirus disease has spread rapidly to countries all over the world, like from since 2019, which caused a great impact on global health and had a huge impact on many countries. This project illustrates the analysis of the trend and how the vaccination has proved effective over the time. To start with the objective, we study the statistics of COVID-19 cases and the vaccination throughout the world. The next step was to analyze the data and derive insights into the cases from different countries, followed by an evaluation and comparison between different countries where vaccination have proved to be effective, leading to a decrease in the number of cases and hospitalization. The next step was to identify the causes of trends and patterns of the data, and finally, to visualize the time series data using the visualization tool. Next, this is the data architecture for the same. We retrieved the data from the data source in a CSV format. This data was then loaded to a blob storage. For the data transformation, we have used Azure Data Flow for the conversion. The output data was stored in Azure Blob Storage and finally pushed to Azure Cosmos DB. Here, we have used Power BI tool for the visualization purpose. In the next slide, we can see the dataset overview that we have used as a data source for our trend analysis. As we can see, we have multiple columns over here, like the total cases, new death, total death registered, etc. For the next slide, we see the expected JSON structure, which was stored in Azure Cosmos DB. The Azure services which were included in this project include the Azure Blob Storage, Azure Data Factory, and Azure Cosmos DB. For the next implementation piece, it will be continued by Sriram.
Thank you, Nimati. So for ETL process, we use Azure Data Factory, which involve like 6 multiple steps. Initially to fetch the CSV files from the website, which is basically an API fetch, and then stage that data into Azure Blob Storage, and then doing the data transformations, such as like for our expected JSON, we have like multiple hierarchies. So we did the data transformation using the data flow. And we finally converted that CSV into JSON and again staged into blob storage. And from there, we pushed the data into Cosmos DB. So I want to give a brief intro of our ETL process, which we followed. So this is our Azure Data Factory. So initially, it started with creating a HTTP linked service to do a API fetch, where we could see like this is our base URL from where we are fetching the data. And we are fetching it using the CSV delimiter, using the linked service HTTP. And then we store it into the Azure blob storage. So here we could see like the data CSV is like loaded in the blob storage. And then this is our data factory data flow, where we have like did the multiple hierarchy splitting of our CSV data into JSON format. So this was a bit of a challenging one for us, where we need since we had like 2 levels of hierarchies to be done. We had to like create a derived column and then create an aggregate for it. So the process involves like sourcing the CSV data and then selecting the required columns from the initial source raw data set, and then doing the derived column for our inner JSON, and then aggregating it, and again continuing the same process for the outer shell, and then finally like typecasting the partition key, because like for the final sync to be pushed, the partition key need to be in the string format, so we need to do a typecast, and then finally we like stage read in the blob storage. So here I have couple of slides where I just wanted to explain the hierarchy that we have followed for one inner shell. On the left, you could see like the date records, which we wanted to create as an array, which has like multiple objects in it, such as date, total cases, new cases, etc. This is just an example, and we have like the whole data pipeline implemented. And on the right side, we are like grouping it based on our JSON structure outer part, which is usually for us is like the location and ISO code. And then we are aggregating it based on the inner shell column. So this will be like added for the other two columns as well. And finally, we have also created the Cosmos DB linked service in order to initiate the data transfer from the blob storage to Azure Cosmos DB. So we have like totally 3 pipelines, and this is our master pipeline, where in the first pipeline, we do the API fetch using the HTTP service, as I said before, to stage the data in the blob storage in the CSV format. And the second is the data flow in the Azure Data Factory, where we do it in the data pipeline to convert the CSV data into JSON. And the third pipeline, the final pipeline, is to like stage the JSON data into Cosmos DB. So we do the automation like every day. It's a kind of a daily refresh where we do the data pulling like around 7:31 p.m. in the EST. Since like in the source data refresh happens usually like every day around 7:30 p.m. We have like a one minute of liberal time in order to have a proper data fetch. So we use the trigger in the Azure Data Factory to do our pipeline automation. And this is how our data will be looking in the Cosmos DB, where we could see on the right-hand side, we have like 2 levels of array hierarchy. So the first partition ID for us is the continent, and the next level of array will be the country, and finally each country has like multiple date records. So this is our final JSON structure to have a bit deeper view, where we have like 2 levels of hierarchy here. And next is our dashboard, which will be explained by Rishabh.
Hi guys. So after loading the data into the Cosmos DB, we created a Power BI dashboard. So this is our first page where we show the global daily records. Global daily records. So we show the main KPIs, which are total confirmed cases, total deaths, and total recovered and death rate. And on the right-hand side of the dashboard, we show top 5 countries which are highest in confirmed cases, and the top 5 countries with highest recoveries, and top 5 countries with highest deaths. And we have a filter for selecting the date range, as well as selecting a country. So if we select a country, the select country column, these line graphs change to that particular country. And we are also showing the list of top countries with confirmed cases and their real numbers as well. So going to the next slide. So in this, we show daily data of all the countries. So these are, this is for the date of last 25th August of 2021. So likewise, here also we have kept the controls to filter select country and select date. So generally, the dashboard shows the top 5 countries with highest daily new cases and highest daily deaths. But when you select a country, it changes to that particular country. And likewise, we have displayed the daily new cases and daily deaths for the particular countries. So for this, we had, for the other visualizations, the data was already in the data set, but we had to create a measure using DAX queries for the 7-day moving average. So these are the top 5 countries that we selected, which had major variations in 7-day moving average. So we have displayed those. And go to the next slide. So here I've selected India to show India's variation with the 7-day moving average. So finally, we show the vaccination data for each country. And here, as we have followed throughout the dashboard, we are showing the top 5 countries with vaccinations of first dose and both doses. Likewise, it also has a filter where you can display a particular country's vaccination percentages. So for this also, we had to create a measure using DAX to create the percentage of population vaccinated for each country. Go to the next slide, Jay. So this is for United States, where it has above 60% for the first dose and around 50% for the both doses. So the results, we have created an end-to-end pipeline and automated using Azure Cloud. We have analyzed the COVID data and identified the countries where vaccinations have proved to reduce the number of cases. And we have also identified the underlying causes and trends. And we have visualized the time series data using our Power BI dashboard. That's it, guys.